The Belmont Stakes 2023. It's the granddaddy of them all, the Grade 1 Belmont Stakes, coming to you on Saturday from Belmont Park, New York. And it is time for our handicapping show. We're going to go over all of the contenders in the 2023 Belmont Stakes. We're going to take a look at the pace. We're going to set you up with all of the main contenders in the field. We're going to take questions from you, the viewer, and get an idea on what you think is going to happen in the Belmont Stakes. And overall, I think some people are starting to get excited about the 2023 Belmont Stakes, as it did draw a 9-horse field, including the 2-year-old champion, the Preakness Stakes winner, and we also have some other stakes winners, even in 2023, in this field. Now, the 9-horse field is going to be right on par with the Preakness, but I think the overall quality is much better than the Preakness. Of course, not as good as the Kentucky Derby. The Derby always gets the best of the best, and then we kind of filter back on the Preakness, and then we end up going in strong for the Belmont Stakes 2023. So that is what we're going to do. We're going to talk about the test of the champion tonight, the Belmont Stakes. Get your questions in. We're going to go over the field in just a moment. Take a look at those morning line odds, see if there's any difference in the morning line odds and what you think is going to happen on the tote board. But the test of champion, the Belmont Stakes 2023, and let's get started right away. First off, the field was drawn. Post positions were announced. Let's take a look at that as we look at this race. Tappet Shoes, a 20-1 shot, one of 3 horses for trainer Brad Cox. Tappet Trice is one of 2 horses for Todd Pletcher, and Arcangelo, back-to-back wins, one of them at Gulfstream by 6 lengths. Then Arcangelo won the Peter Pan the last time out. National Treasure at 5-1. He won the Preakness Stakes wire to wire for trainer Bob Baffert. Il Miracolo, a winner in May at Gulfstream, his second lifetime win. He ran in some of the big stakes races at Gulfstream this winter. He ran 6th in the Fountain of Youth, 5th in the Holy Bull, 7th in the Mucho Macho Man. Meanwhile, Forte, the 5-2 morning line favorite, hit show at 10-1 for Brad Cox. Angel of Empire, the Kentucky Derby favorite, and also 3rd in the Kentucky Derby, the highest Beyer speed figure on the year for this crop. And then Red Route 1, 15-1 long shot for trainer Steve Asmussen. So that is a look at the field for the Belmont Stakes. Their post positions, and looks like everybody's starting to gather around. We got John G back. Of course, he's been here for the Preakness and Belmont shows. We've got Danny. Thanks again for your support of the show, Danny. Danny has been here for both the Preakness and the Belmont previews, and I think Surf Fishing Fan was here for the last couple of shows. He was also here when we had the Pedigree show. But let's get to work on this field. The Belmont Stakes, 9 horses. Now, the one thing with the Belmont Stakes is that usually you do have to, we had some lightly raced horses win in recent years in the Preakness. And you can do that because the field quality is not as good. But when you get a 1.5 mile race, and then you get 3 or 4 of the contenders coming out of the Kentucky Derby, usually you get a little bit more experience. And over the years, it does seem like the New York jockeys that have raced at Belmont Park tend to ride really well on the Belmont Stakes on this day and in the Belmont Stakes. I'm running a poll on YouTube right now, and so far a very close vote among you, the listeners and viewers of the channel. Right now, Forte has the most votes. He's only about 10 votes ahead of Angel of Empire. Tappet Trice is the 3rd favorite. And then we've got National Treasure and the others getting about the same percentage of the vote at 10%. So Forte with about 40% of the vote. It looks like he's going to be right around 5-2. And then Angel of Empire might be that second favorite at 3-1. Although I do think a lot of people do like Tappet Trice as well. So the Texas Bootlegger is here. And Siggy Mendoza, he's going to start us off. He says Timeform US Pace Projector hit show will be a presser. And Timeform US Pace is projecting a fast pace. Now, I disagree with that. I thought with the smaller field, I do think we've got a couple of horses in here that have just never ran fast enough to really contend. So it'll be interesting to see if Hit Show will be a presser. I think he can sit a little bit off the pace in this race. So right now the fans are thinking this is going to be kind of an open betting race, 5-2, 3-1, 7-2 on those top three favorites, Forte, Angel of Empire, and Tapit Trice. Now, Tapit Trice is by Tapit, and of course, Tapit has sired 4 Belmont Stakes winners. He sired Tonalist in 2014, Creator in 2016, Taproot in 2017, and Essential Quality a couple of years ago won the Belmont Stakes, and he ran down Hot Rod Charlie, who set all the pace that day on a fast pace, and it was Essential Quality running him down. Taproot ran close to the pace. Tonalist came from a little bit off the pace, and then Creator was a deep closer the year that he won the Belmont Stakes. So you can have some different running styles. Normally, a lot of people think closers do really well in the Belmont Stakes. They think that extra quarter of a mile, horses are going to come rallying. And usually what happens is if you get a little bit faster pace, it's those mid-pack horses who get that first run on the closers. But you definitely want to have some stamina in that pedigree. You definitely want to have a little bit of experience, and we'll see how the pace shapes out. Now, John G. doesn't see a fast pace, maybe moderate with National Treasure setting the way. I see National Treasure as the pace setter at the 6 furlong call. At the 4 furlong call, it could be Il Miracolo, and I'll tell you why as we get closer to the pace section. So one of the things I want to do before we get into the questions and take a look at this field is kind of go over every contender, set you up if you're new to the Triple Crown, new to horse racing. Now, Tapit Shoes comes in, a 20-1 morning line shot, and it's kind of hard to make a case for Tapit Shoes. One thing I did notice here, he's ran with Lasix the last 4 races, and now he's got to run on Saturday without Lasix. And Lasix is basically a drug that allows them to breathe a little bit better. But on hot days, sometimes it can dehydrate horses. So I think that could be a negative for Tapit Shoes. He's got to carry 126 pounds. He's got to go 1.5 miles. And his only win was in December. He hasn't won in 2023. I think he should be about 30 to 35 to 1. Tapit Shoes by Tapit will probably get a little bit of money just because he's by Tapit. But I think Tapit Shoes really is an outside contender here in this 2023 Belmont Stakes. Yes, they are adding blinkers to Angel of Empire, and we'll talk more about that. And let's take a look at our next contender here, Tapit Trice. Now, the one thing with Tapit Trice, he is going to break last. He's done that in all of his career races. So if he loses the race, I don't want anybody saying, well, he broke dead last, because that's what he does in all 6 of his races. He's won 4 of them. He's got up in the Bluegrass Stakes after breaking slow out of the 1 post. He got up in the Tampa Bay Derby. What I like about this race is he is going to gets an extra quarter of a mile. The pace isn't going to be as fast as the Derby. So the Derby, he was in 19th place. He had to pass all of those horses. He ended up running 7th. And now there's only 10 horses in this race, and a couple of them I don't think have big shots. I think they're going to be fading on the turn. So I think he can get position before that 6 furlong mark, and Tapit Trice definitely is going to run a big race. He's got a long, powerful stride. He's by Tapit, attempting to become the 5th winner of the Belmont Stakes. So I think Tapit Trice is definitely a contender here in the Belmont Stakes. The main thing with Tapit Trice, when you look at his past performances, he breaks last every single time. He was 18th at the half-mile pole in the Kentucky Derby. He was 7th in the Bluegrass. He was 11th in the Tampa Bay Derby. He was 4th of 6 horses after a quarter of a mile in the Gulfstream Park race. So Tapit Trice, he isn't going to show a lot of speed. He can definitely get the 1.5 miles, and I think he just needs to be up there at the 6 furlong call. So Tapit Trice, comes out of the 2-hole for trainer Todd Pletcher, 3-1 on the morning line for jockey Luis Saez. And let's move ahead to Arcangelo. Arcangelo has won back-to-back races. He has won the Peter Pan. That was a 97 Beyer speed figure. He is really in the mix here. One of the things I'd like to point out is that a lot of times you can handicap the race with pedigree. You can handicap a little bit with speed figures. You can handicap with running style. But Arcangelo fits in there, and there's about 6 horses that can win this race based on speed figures. So I think that's where you're going to want to really dive in to running style, pedigree, who's coming into a strong race, who's been working out well. And I think National Treasure had a good workout yesterday. Forte's had a couple of nice workouts since the foot injury. But Arcangelo, he's by popular sire Arrogate. Of course, Arrogate won the Dubai World Cup. He won the Pegasus World Cup. He's out of a Tappet mare who did not race. But the second mare is by Better Than Honor, who was the mare on 2 Belmont Stakes winners. So a deep pedigree here for Arcangelo, and stamina on both the sire and the mare side for Arcangelo. Now, we've got a couple of questions here. John G says he doesn't see a fast pace, maybe more of a moderate pace. This person says he's excited for the race. What about leaving Forte off all trifectas with the injury and the odds? Well, that would be bold. I do think he's got some class. He's got the 4 grade 1 wins. He really didn't lose any time out of training. Remember, he scratched the morning of the Derby. And he already had a workout a week after that. So Forte really, even though he didn't run in the Kentucky Derby, was training to run in the Kentucky Derby. It's not like he got scratched a week before that. He got scratched the morning of the race. I think he can still run 3rd or 4th. I think the key question here is if he moves too soon, because I question his pedigree a little bit. We'll go over that. But also, he's going to have to face proven horses with strong pedigrees in Tappet Trice, Hit Show, and also Angel of Empire. So now Italian Water Ice says Tappet Trice, no shot at higher than 3rd. Forte fastest in the stretch. Angel of Empire 2nd. Let's take a look at our next contender. National Treasure. Wire-to-wire win in the Preakness. Now he's facing a tougher field in this race, but I think the fractions are going to be slow again. And we've seen this picture many times before. Somehow, Bob Baffert ends up on the lead with slow fractions and nobody challenges the front runner. And that's what nobody did on the Preakness except for Blazing 7 going into the turn. And he really wasn't a 1 3/16 type horse. National Treasure was able to gut it out. I really liked the workout yesterday. 5 furlongs in a minute and change, 7 furlongs. He had the ears forward. He had a strong gallop out, shiny coat, everything I like about National Treasure. And he's got a 98 Beyer speed figure. But remember, he had a foot injury and was scratched out of the San Felipe. So he's fresh. He's going to be able to come out of that Santa Anita Derby. He had a strong gallop out there. And I think he's still improving a little bit, National Treasure, here for the Belmont Stakes. Now let's take a look at the next horse, Il Miracolo. Been running against some of the best horses of this generation. Il Miracolo ran 7th in the Mucho Macho Man, 5th in the Holy Bull, 6th in the Fountain of Youth, 6th in the Florida Derby. Now he finally turned it up the last time around. He went wire to wire at Gulfstream Park at a mile. Now he's got to go 1.5 miles. My problem with Il Miracolo is both of his wins were at Gulfstream, and he did have Lasix the last time. Now he goes off Lasix, and his best speed figure was in his last race, which is a 77. And he's facing at least 5 horses that have a 95 or higher Beyer speed figure in this race. So I think he's just on the slow side, and 30-1 is fair odds. I just don't think you can include a horse like that in the trifecta. So when you look at a race like this, I do think National Treasure, based on speed figures, is definitely a top 4 contender. I think on pace figures, he's a top 3 contender because it's going to be slow fractions. He's going to be able to walk that dog on the front end with John Velasquez. And he's sharp right now. He went slow in the Preakness because there was 3 or 4 horses in that Preakness that really had no shot. And there's only about 2 horses in the Belmont that don't really have any speed early on. Red Route 1 doesn't have a lot of speed. He tried to show speed in the Preakness and ended up running evenly. That didn't help him out. I think they're going to go back, and I think they're going to try to make a run. So that's Il Miracolo in the Belmont Stakes. Now we've got Forte, the morning line favorite for the Belmont Stakes. He's 5-2. He was scratched the morning of the Kentucky Derby. He was expected to be the favorite. He had an off-the-pace run in the Fountain of Youth, 7 starts, 6 wins, 4 Grade 1 wins. He scratched with a foot injury. Now, we've already got different opinions. Patrick wants to know about the foot injury off the layoff. You know, I question his ability to get a mile and a quarter. A mile and a half, I think, is even more, but he is fresh. He's had a couple of workouts. Now, the mare on Forte ran 20 times with 6 wins. Now, she was a turfer. She ran 17 times of her 20 races on the turf. But the second mare on the mare side is a mare that is by Forestry, and that's a notorious speed sire. He had a lot of foals that were very precocious. He himself tried to stretch out, didn't really stretch out successfully. He was a fast sprinter. So Forte has got more blame as the broodmare sire. The mare went a solid mile, but the second mare was by Forestry, and then you add Seattle Slew. So kind of some mixed signals. You've got a Belmont winner in that 3rd generation. Blame won the Breeders' Cup Classic in that 2nd generation, but he's by Violence. So I lean more as speed. I think Forte is probably going to take that lead at the top of the stretch, but can he handle it the last quarter of a mile? That's my big question when I take a look at this. But I think Forte will be the slight favorite in the Belmont Stakes. He's 5-2. That's going to be fair odds. If you want to play him in a double or a pick 5 or on top in exactas, you can definitely still squeeze some money out of the race. But I don't think Forte is going to blow this field away. I think if he wins the race, he has a chance to grind out a victory. I think 2 or 3 horses are going to run well here in this race. I think Angel of Empire is going to run really strong. I think Forte is going to run strong. I think Tapatrice is going to love the distance. My main question with Tapatrice is coming from dead last in a smaller field with a slow pace. Now we've got Hit Show. Hit Show is a presser. I think Siggy Mendoza thinks that's where his best race is going to be. He did win in New York and Aqueduct in the wintertime in the Withers Stakes. He can sit mid-pack. He did come from a little off the pace in his Oaklawn Park victory. And Forte has never passed in any race. He won't fade. Most likely he never has been passed once he's taken the lead. Now, Mage did take the lead on him in the Florida Derby, but then Forte came back with a really gutsy effort. Now, the one thing I wanted to show you about Hit Show is the pedigree. Now, I said Forte has a little bit lighter pedigree. This is what I call a strong female pedigree. And what I like to do is in Formulator, I pull up the horse, and then they have the running record of the mare and the second mare. So this is the mother of Hit Show, and she is by Tappet, and her name is Actress. And she won the Black Eyed Susan, which is the female race the day before the Preakness. And look at, she came from 16 lengths out of it. Then she ran 3rd in the Delaware Oaks, a grade 3. She ran in the Belmont Stakes, a mile and a quarter race for fillies. She ran in the grade 1 Cotillion. So I think she definitely has, that's what I call a deep female family. Then the second mare is by Milwaukee Brew. He was ran in the Santa Anita Handicap. He ran in the Breeders' Cup Classic. And then with Tappet, you've got a lot of stamina in this pedigree on Hit Show. And I think Hit Show ran closer to the pace in the Kentucky Derby, but I don't think he needs to be close to the pace. I think he can be a presser sitting off the pace in the Belmont Stakes. So I think Hit Show is definitely usable if you want to play him in a trifecta. Meanwhile, Howard says Forte is ready to roll. He put up the muscle sign. All systems go for Howard betting on Forte. Now, Siggy Mendoza, Angel of Empire, damn line, not a concern. It does look a little bit light. Not as much stamina. I do wonder why they're putting on the blinkers here. Now that tells me they want to be a little bit closer to the pace, or they're worried that the pace is going to be slow and they don't want to get too far behind. So Angel of Empire was further back in the Kentucky Derby. He was in 18th place early. Then he was in 16th place. But that was a big field and a fast pace. And you have a lot smaller field. So I don't know. It's kind of interesting that they're putting blinkers on. Angel of Empire has never worn blinkers before coming into this race. Now, Angel of Empire, our next contender in the Belmont Stakes. Angel of Empire won the Arkansas Derby, won the Risen Star Stakes, was third in the Kentucky Derby. He has the fastest Beyer speed figure. We're going to take a look at the fastest Beyer speed figures. But Angel of Empire put blinkers on for this race. He was a little bit closer to the pace. Remember in the Smarty Jones in a mile race, he was second at the top of the stretch. And maybe they want to be a little bit closer and they think his stamina will bring him to the finish line. He is by Classic Empire. Classic Empire won the Arkansas Derby, and then he ran fourth in the Kentucky Derby before running second in the Preakness Stakes. So kind of mixed signals, Siggy, on Angel of Empire. Overall, he's a Pennsylvania bred. He's by Two Honor and Serve, who is by Bernardini. So he gets a little bit of stamina there. But the racing female family is not as strong on Angel of Empire as it is on Hit Show. I really think Hit Show has the best pedigree in the race, along with Tapit Trice, if you want to play that. Now, Red Route 1 is post position number 9, and Red Route 1. One thing I will notice, deep closer. He ran closer to the pace in the Preakness. There's an example. They tried to change up his running style, and it didn't work. And Red Route 1 has had a long campaign. If you notice, he ran twice in October. He ran at the end of November. He ran at the end of January. He had 2 races in April. Then he ran in the Preakness. I just think he's had a lot of races in a short amount of time, and I'm not sure he's improving. I think he deserves to be in the race. He's got the class. I just don't think he can improve. And in races for the Triple Crown, one of the things I always ask myself is, can this horse improve? Going into the Derby, Mage only had a maiden win, but he improved, set a new career top in a speed figure, and won the Derby. Going into the Preakness, National Treasure only had a maiden win, but they put blinkers on. He had speed. He went to the lead. He won a Grade 1 race. So I think you just got to have a little bit more class in these races. So Red Route 1, I just don't think he can improve in a spot. So Mike is a little bit concerned on Angel of Empire getting blinkers. I am a little bit afraid they might show a little bit more speed. Are done concerned by the blinkers on Angel of Empire. And if you take a look at the 9-horse field, the Test of Champions, again, here's the morning line odds. You've got Tapit Shoes, Tapit Trice out of the 2-post, Archangelo, the Peter Pan winner, National Treasure, winner of the Preakness, Il Miracolo, the Gulfstream Park allowance winner, Forte, the 2-year-old champion. He won the Bluegrass. The Keeneland Breeders' Futurity. Hit Show, the winner of the Withers. What I like about Hit Show is he's also won at 3 different tracks. He's won at Keeneland. He's won at Oaklawn. He's won at Aqueduct. Tapit Trice has won at Gulfstream, won at Aqueduct, won at Keeneland, and also won at Tampa Bay. I think that's a good sign. Shows a little bit more versatility. Shows that they can run on any surface. Now, some people asked about the running style. Again, you don't like the closers in a race like this, but I do think you want to be closer to the pace. So now let's talk about some long shots. If you have any long shots, give them to me here. We'll post those in the comments. But live long shots for this race, the Test of Champions. Now, the Beyer speed figures, there's some different speed figures out there. You've got Brisnet speed figures, and you've got Thorograph, you've got the Sheets, you've got Equibase. I tend to like Timeform the best for the ones that are a little bit cheaper. Timeform for accounts for pace of the race. The Beyer speed figures sometimes doesn't. I think they factor in some class into the race. But Angel of Empire got a 104 in the Kentucky Derby. Tapit Trice a 99 in the Bluegrass. Forte a 98 in the Fountain of Youth. Hit Show, a 98, running 5th in the Kentucky Derby. National Treasure, a 98 in the Preakness. And Archangelo, a 97 in the Preakness. Now, Archangelo did run without Lasix in the last race, winning that one, the Peter Pan Stakes over Bishop's Bay. So let's go with some long shots. Edward Praying says Pletcher 30% with blinkers on and a positive ROI. Tappet Shoes, a shot at a price. Surf Fishing Fan likes Archangelo as his live long shot. Hit Show and Archangelo are R. Dunn's long shots for the race. John G says National Treasure, the class of the speed. Baffert and Johnny V, signature move, go to the front, try to hang on, and yeah, kind of slow down those fractions. So the top buyer speed figures, only 5 points separate those top contenders, and that's really only about 2 lengths. What I like to see for a speed figure edge is an 8 or 9 point edge in speed figures, because at a 1.5 miles, that's really only about 3 lengths, and between post position, going wide on the turn, having to check, that can make up a length or a half a length on the speed figures. So when you take a look at the Triple Crown so far, we had a fast pace in the Kentucky Derby, and then we had a slow pace in the Preakness. The Kentucky Derby was won by a closer because you had the fast pace, the speed faded out of the race, and then the Preakness was won by a front runner, wire to wire. So definitely we saw so far that pace makes the race in the first 2 legs of the Triple Crown. So that is Kentucky Derby fast pace. Danny wants to know about the Met Mile. We'll take a little bit of a look at that later on in the show, Danny, but I'm also thinking about doing a Friday live stream, and we'll go over all the stakes races on Friday. If anybody wants a live stream, let me know in the comments, and then we'll set that up for Friday night to get you ready for all the other stakes races on Saturday. But we will take a little bit of a look at that. So when I look at the 4 furlong pace, I see National and Treasure and Il Miracolo on the lead at the 4 furlong mark. The reason why I think Il Miracolo can be up there, because even though his pace figures are a little bit slower, he did go wire to wire in both his wins, and I think the pace will be slow, maybe even 47 and change. So I think he can be up there. The pressers are going to be Hit Show and Archangelo, and then that mid-pack will be Tappet Shoes, Angel of Empire, and Forte. Tappet Trice and Red Route 1 will be the closers in the race. So John wants a live stream on Friday. So we got 1 vote for a live stream on Friday. Now let's go to the 6 furlong mark. This is where I think the crux of the race is going to be. I think National Treasure will have the lead. I think it'll be a 112 and 3 change. So maybe even 113 like the Preakness. That would take advantage of the early and the pressers. So the early horse would be National Treasure. The pressers would be Hit Show, Forte, and Angel of Empire. Now I highlighted the 3 green horses. These are the horses that are going to make the move from the 6 furlong to the 1 mile mark. And that's Hit Show, Angel of Empire, and Tappet Trice. So I think those 3 are going to be the key. Red Route 1 is only going to make his move at the end of the race, but that's kind of how I see it playing out. William Daly says he's tried first-time blinkers on a horse running in a grade once. Kind of a strange move. It is a little bit unusual. I don't see it on, although Bob Baffert's done it and some other horses have done. 3 horses have gone wire to wire in the Belmont in the last 20 years. So it's capable. We've seen some faster paces. We've seen some horses improve in the Belmont Stakes. You know, I think you definitely want to have some class. You know, coming into the Derby, we had a maiden winner win that race. Coming into the Preakness, we had a maiden winner, only with 1 maiden win the Preakness. I just don't, you know, now granted, we've got some better horses here. Archangelo won a grade 3. Tappet Trice won a grade 1. Forte's a grade 1 winner. Tappet Shoes is only a maiden winner. National Treasure is a Preakness winner. So I think we've got a better class of horses here. So that's why I just don't think the long shots really have much of a chance to win the race. I think they can maybe run 3rd or 4th. For the Belmont Met Mile double, I'm going to be playing Dr. Shivel. That's my pick for the Met Mile. I'll talk more about that on Friday in our handicapping show. But if you want to start looking at that race, Cody's Wish is a closer. He's going to be the biggest favorite of the weekend. I'm going to kind of go over some betting strategies on how I look at the 2 days of racing. It's one of my favorite racing days of the year. It's right actually ahead of the Derby and behind the Breeders' Cup. But one of the things that I try to do is I am not going to pick 11 winners on these 2 days. I'm going to try to pick 2 or 3 winners, and then I'm going to try to hit 3 doubles. And basically, if I can pick 1 or 2 winners out of this whole weekend, I can make money on doubles because I'm going to play heavy doubles using 2 or 3 horses in one leg of the double and then playing a single in the other race. So when I do my doubles, I'm going to do a Met Mile double with Dr. Shivel, and then I'm going to play him in the Belmont race with Tapit Trice, Angel of Empire, and probably Forte as my Met Mile Belmont double. But on Friday night, I'll go over the Belmont doubles. We'll go over the Belmont Turf double to the double. Actually, that'll already be over, so I won't be able to do that. I'll probably do that on Thursday's show. I'll do a recording on some double bets. So Mo Donegal last year, he came a little off the pace. He had been closer to the lead. He was, a horse that had the 1 post position in the Kentucky Derby, had a little bit of a bad start, ran evenly late. I think Tapit Trice has a lot of the same type of form factors. Todd Pletcher does really well going from the Kentucky Derby to the Belmont Stakes. He's won 4 Belmont Stakes, and he's also got second a few times, nipped at the wire with Destin. Stay Thirsty got second. So I think Tapit Trice is very similar to Mo Donegal last year. Now, my interesting thing is I thought if Forte won the Kentucky Derby, I didn't think he had much of a chance in the Belmont Stakes. So it's interesting he didn't run in the Kentucky Derby, but he's running in the Belmont Stakes. Now, I did do a Belmont Stakes preview, and my top selection for the Belmont Stakes is Tapit Trice. I'm going to be playing him in Exactas over National Treasure, Angel of Empire, and Arcangelo. I'm going to try to fade Forte out of the Exacta. I do think he can run third in the trifecta. And as my long shot pick, I like Arcangelo. I think he's going to be 8 or 9 to 1. I like his win in the Peter Pan. I liked his win with the big speed figure at Gulfstream. I think he's improving. It does concern me that he's got to face another speed horse in National Treasure, and he's got to face that mid-pack group of Hit Show. He's got to face Forte. He's got to face Angel of Empire, who I think is going to make a move. Angel of Empire is a little bit worrisome with those blinkers, and he's got to go that extra quarter of a mile. I think Angel of Empire is the best 1.25 mile horse of this crop. I think Forte may be the best 1.8 mile horse. We'll see. Go Rocket Ride was very impressive over the weekend. He's going to be pointing to the Haskell. National Treasure, I think, is a good 1.8 miles and 1.25 miles. But one of the things is I like to try to see, sometimes the best horse doesn't always win the race. So when you cash a ticket, it's always nice to cash a ticket, but watch that race, watch the replays. Sometimes pace and jockey moves, positioning, those are what determines some of the winner. I think the Kentucky Derby had a pace meltdown, and I'm not sure the best horse won that race. And National Treasure, I think he's a good horse, but he was able to kind of get loose on the lead with slow fractions. And then 2 or 3 of those horses weren't that good. So we're going to see how good National Treasure is here. But I'm also a believer that you've got to play the playing conditions. So if you think the race is going to have a slow pace, it's tough to play a closer. If you think the pace is going to be fast, then it's kind of tough to take a front runner. So you have to handicap the race out. And again, what I'm trying to do is pick 1 or 2 winners out of these 6, 7, 8 races over the 2 days and try to key them in a Belmont double, maybe hit an Exacta. But I won't be trying to pick the winner of all these races because it's just too tough. And some of these races, you're going to have 1 or 2 or 3 of the favorites win, but you're also going to have 2 or 3 of the favorites lose. So, if you think every one of these favorites is going to win, like Cody's Wish and Forte and In Italian and every one of these favorites are going to win. Normally, they don't all win. There's always that mix-up in there. We had a 28-1 on Derby Day with Web Slinger. We had some long shots last year in the Breeders' Cup. Last year in the Derby, we had a long shot. A couple of years ago, we had Funny Duck at 40-1 on Derby Day. You always get that one shot. So what I like to do is find the race where you think that shot can be. Danny Eaton says, big try and super coming. Book it on the weekend. So Mo Donegal had a little bit more pace last year. Actually, I think it was 112 and change, if I remember right. I don't think they went as slow as 113, but Mo Donegal was closer to the pace. And remember, he had that big speed figure in the Wood Memorial, and he came from off the pace, chasing the eventual Preakness winner on that fast pace. So he came off. Yes, I do think it helps. Forte won his first career at Belmont. Layoff, not a concern. Easy winner for Forte, according to Italian Water Ice. We don't even need to run the race. So, yeah, we may get some changes. So we'll do a live stream on Friday night, go over the Belmont. We'll go over the stakes races, some of those bets, 2-day bets, maybe a pick 5 small ticket. Again, I'm going to be focusing on the doubles and exactas as my plays. But kind of what are some of the bets that you are going to be playing or looking at? This guy likes high definition in the Gold Cup. Appleby yard under a small cloud at the moment. I do like the German horse in the Gold Cup. I can't remember the name, but I will be playing him. I'll probably do a video with some of those on Thursday, maybe look at more of some of the pedigree. So yes, this is a topic. A lot of people are talking about Forte's stumble. Now, he stumbled before the Derby, and then they said that he had hurt his foot either with the stumble, and then they showed a picture of his foot getting shoed, and some people weighed in that he was having some foot issues. So that is what Danny is talking about here. Meanwhile, on Monday, Forte did stumble again. Now, I used to watch workouts at Canterbury Park. Years ago, I used to get up in the morning, go out there, clock the workouts, and I used to take notes. And now I got to admit, I didn't see horses very often stumble. I'd see them every now and then, but those are more allowance horses, claiming horses. So it's a little unusual to see a grade 1 horse stumbling. And after the foot injury, but I don't know. I mean, I think he's going to be examined very closely on Friday and Saturday. I think the foot injury, but I don't know. I guess, Danny, the answer is I didn't stay at a Holiday Inn last night, so I don't know about the foot stumble. You don't see it very often. I'm going to play the race straight up. If I knew or if I got some more information, I would maybe weigh that in a little bit. Right now, I think if you get 5-2 or 3-1 on Forte because people think that he stumbled and maybe he's a little bit susceptible, I think people that like Forte are going to be happy at their 5-2, 3-1. Now, Don Woolley says Angel of Empire all the way. John G says slow, moderate pace favors National Treasure, especially with Johnny Velasquez. Pace is usually fast, according to Mike. It's the Belmont Stakes, but there isn't really a lot of proven grade 1 speed this year in the Belmont Stakes. So I do think you have to weigh that in. R. Dunn likes In Italian as his best bet of the 2 days. Got to take on Spenderella. William Daly says it's hard to overlook Tapit Trice. He ran crazy wide in the Derby. Ran a nice race in the Bluegrass. Yeah, I liked his workout the other day on Monday as well. He was out in the middle of the track. He needs to be outside horses, and I think that's the key for a horse like Tapit Trice. And, you know, when you look overall at some of these contenders, you've got Tapit Trice. He doesn't have any speed. Red Route 1 has no speed. So with 2 of the 7 horses not having any speed, and then Tapit Shoes and Il Miracolo are a little bit slower speed figure wise, I just don't think you're going to get faster than a 112 for the 6 furlongs. And that means, you know, National Treasure is going to move up. I think it helps Forte because Forte will be a little bit closer to the pace and he won't have to exert himself. The key thing with Forte is, does he make his move before Angel of Empire and Angel of Empire try to run him down? Or does he let Angel of Empire and Hit Show make that move before Forte makes that move? So Friday's card, looks more like his cup of tea, according to Simon. Some solid race. And Danny watched the Peter Pan. Arc did battle and pushed at the end. Yes, I like that. I like to call that grit. I just like the grit in that race. Even in the Gulfstream race, 2 back, he was checked a little bit on the turn. He was shuffled around and he had to wait. And Javier Castellano rode him very confidently. And even when he was battling down the stretch, Castellano never really went to the whip until late. And then he eased up on him right after he got ahead of him. He knew he was riding a live horse. Of course, that day in the Peter Pan, he was bet down from a 10-1 morning line all the way down to the co-favorite. So I think Arcangelo is kind of a little bit of a sleeper pick. A lot of people are taking a look at that Peter Pan. Now, this is interesting. Yes, I did want to bring up Angel of Empire. One of the things I've noticed over the years, some of these longer price horses in the Belmont Stakes and even the middle price horses have had Belmont jockeys. You had Irad Ortiz with Creator. You've had some of these other ones with some of the New York-based jockeys. It's a 1.5 mile track. It's a big track. And I didn't think Flavian Prat ran well on We the People last year. I thought he was kind of passive. I thought he waited and he should have been on the lead in that race. So I like Angel of Empire, but I don't like the fact he's going to go in there fresh, not used to riding at Belmont. And I do think I'd want a little bit higher odds on Angel of Empire. I don't want too low of a price. 3-1 is too low on Angel of Empire. I want all of 7-2 and even 4-1 on Angel of Empire. Now, don't forget, we've got our Belmont Stakes Handicapping Show tonight. I did do a Belmont Stakes preview. That is available on the channel. I went over my picks. Later on this week, I'm going to do some of the daily double picks. We'll release that probably on Thursday for Friday, Saturday, a final look in case there's any scratches or changes. And then Friday night, we'll see if there's any scratches. We'll do a live stream around 7 o'clock Central again. And then we'll also do some look at the Met Mile. We'll take a look at that Met Mile Belmont double. We'll also take a look at the I'm excited for that True North Elite Power against Strobe. I think that's a strong race. The Woody Stevens drew like 12, 13 horses. You've got some horses out of the Pat Day Mile. You've got an up-and-comer like Federal Judge who's won a couple of row. So anybody else have any picks they like for Saturday already? The Woody Stevens, the Manhattan. You've got Up to the Mark coming back from Derby Day, winning that one. And yeah, Timothy O'Hare, that is one of the things. No hoof, no horse. You can keep that in mind if you're betting on Forte, if he did stumble and has had a little bit of a foot issue. Now, also, Best Pal, he had some foot issues and he was able to win the Pacific Classic and some other races with a cracked hoof. And back in the day, some of these injuries weren't made as public. And even when they were made as public, there wasn't as much, there wasn't really Twitter and things like that out there. So, one of the things, Danny and others, you don't want to overanalyze too much information. You still have to kind of go with the information that you have, the information that you think is going to help you pick a winner in this race. Pace will be fast, according to Mike. Tappa Trice needs a 111 for 6 furlongs. Yeah, if he'd get that, it'd probably help him. That would probably help Angel of Empire. I think it's going to be more 112 and change. Up to the Limit will be in the Manhattan. Wicked Felina says if Forte did stumble again and they rule out an injury, he might have an undiagnosed neurological condition. So we'll know. Wicked Felina knows a little bit about that. I'm going to handicap the past performances. I do like watching the workouts. One thing I liked about Forte's workout is he worked out in company. And what that means is that he's not a runoff horse. Normally, horses that are a little bit more speed prone, they'll work them out in solo because they don't want them to get too rank. So that tells me he's calm. He can make his move, and he's kind of shown that in the Fountain of Youth. He's shown that in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, coming from off the pace to run down Cave Rock. Then he ran down Loggins in the Breeders' Futurity. So that was a big race. So I do think Forte is not a runoff or not a speed horse. Now, National Treasure, they worked out a solo work, and they worked him out in the middle of the track. And that tells me he's a little bit more speed. He's wearing the blinkers in the races. He's won both races wire to wire. They want to keep him primed and ready to get out there on Saturday and use that speed in the race. So, Danny's asking about post position, 1.5 miles. No, I didn't really talk too much about post position because I think field size, 9 horses, and really with 2 horses that are closers, Red Route 1 and Tappa Trice, they're going to get out of the gate last. So they're not going to be in the way anybody's way. National Treasure breaks good. All of these horses always have a good history of breaking well. So we don't really have any bad breakers. So I don't think post position is really going to be a issue in this race. This guy likes the horse with 3 grade 1 wins. I thought Forte has 4 grade 1s. John G says first quarter may be moderate, then they'll start to slow it down. Long way to go. Could be. Simon O'Neill likes Money's Girl in Italian, McCulloch, and High Definition. The picks for Friday. John G says his gut says National Treasure. It's a jockey's race, Danny. Timothy says sweeping turns should give everyone a fair run heading for home. Yeah, I think we're going to see 5 to 6 horses with a chance to win at the top of the stretch. Even last year, we had 3-4 horses going into the turn. You had We the People, you had Mo Donegal, you had Nest. So I do think we're going to have 3, 4, 5 horses. I think Red Route 1, if he lays way back, maybe could make a run. I think Tappet Shoes is just a little bit outclassed. Il Miracolo might show some speed for the first 4 furlongs. But after that, I'm just not sure what he's going to be able to do. Now, Anthony says going to be a great race, a couple of links between first and fourth. You know, one of the things we have had an exciting Triple Crown season. When you look at it, we had Mage run down 2 fills late. And then remember the Santa Anita Derby Day. It was a 3-horse photo finish with Practical Move and Mandarin Hero. Then we had a photo finish in the Wood Memorial. We had Hit Show. We had a photo finish in the Bluegrass with Tappa Trice. Tappa Trice getting up late in the Tampa Bay Derby. So I do think that we've got a close race. It just seems like we've got an evenly matched group at this time of the year. I do think some of these horses are going to improve. I like Go Rocket Ride moving forward. I do like 2 fills at 1 1/8 miles. He's going to go to the Ohio Derby. So we've got that second group of horses. Practical Move hasn't worked since his scratched. I think he could be a good 1 1/8 horse. Don Woolley says he's not sure of a Violence Offspring. That's the sire of Forte and Tappet Shoes, getting 12 furlongs. Texas Bootlegger says Iran wins back-to-back. Yes, it's been since 1972 and 73. Ron Turcotte on Riva Ridge and Secretariat went back-to-back as the winning jock. Irad Ortiz won last year with Mo Donegal. We'll see if he can win back-to-back this year. Siggy Mendoza likes he says Warlike Goddess may be vulnerable at 10 furlongs. You know, Warlike Goddess is another one. She gives you a little bit of a scare halfway through the race. She kind of lays back. She's gotten a little bit of a couple of questionable rides. So I don't know if she's a single or not, but she's definitely a classy horse. So Danny says you're only as good as the horse you're on. Well, that's true as well. You can only ride the horse. And let's see here. DJ says, if odds go up in Archangelo, that could be a nice payoff for a long shot. Yes. So definitely some long shots and horses at a price to take a look at here in the Belmont Stakes. So that's going to do it for tonight. Remember, hit that like button, share this video with your other handicapping friends. If you have any questions for the Friday show, leave a comment here or in the preview video. And then we will answer those questions, go over the stakes races on Saturday. I'll get that up 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern. Friday night, we'll look at Saturday and get you ready for all of those big bets, big day on Saturday. Belmont Stakes 2023. Hit that like button. Thanks for supporting the channel and comment your questions throughout the week. And Anthony, one final thought. Angel of Empire, National Treasure, and Tappa Trice will be the treasure. And we're all ready. Who's ready for the Belmont Stakes? Give me a thumbs up. Give me an emoji of your Belmont Stakes coming up for Saturday. We'll finish it off here with everybody's emoji for the Belmont Stakes. And I think we're going to have this emoji. So Belmont Stakes, Surf Fishing Fan says AOE all the way. Hit Show is a sleeper. And good luck to all from John G. That's going to do it for our Belmont Stakes handicapping show. Thumbs up from the bootlegger. We can call it a wrap for the Belmont Stakes show. And remember, good luck, everybody, from Anthony. And D. Wayne Lucas always says, people have opinions, and on Saturday, the horses will have the facts.